Hello, and welcome to another episode of Movies, they're pretty good. I'm your host, Travis Dudding, and today we have a special episode. We are just going to talk about the 2024 Academy Award nominations announcement, or what movies are nominated, and so on and so forth. I did this last year as a bonus episode. This year I figured I'll just do it as a regular episode because I don't have the time for a regular and a bonus. But all right, let's get into it. So, number one category, main thing. Let's start there. Best Picture. So, nominees for Best Picture we have are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, The Holdovers, and The Zone of Interest. So, I've seen 6 out of the 10 so far. And I'll just go down my list of what my favorites are and talk a little bit about each one and why I like it. So, I'm gonna say, even though I think Oppenheimer is going to win, but my pick personally, and they are very like neck and neck, but personally, I preferred Killers of the Flower Moon. I thought that movie was incredible. It did not feel like 3.5 hours in the movie theater. It just when it was over, I'm like, I could keep watching. It was just very moving, very powerful film, and I just feel like it was the more important film of the two. Um, but I mean, not that Oppenheimer wasn't, and not that it is, but it, it just, if I had to pick one, like that's the one I'd go with. That being said, second choice Oppenheimer would not be disappointed if that won. It's incredible. It's Nolan's best work as a director for sure. Is it the one I'm going to be watching over and over again, like The Prestige or Inception, Dark Knight? Those I'll probably like go back to just because they're more fun. But this was just, I'd say, his most well done movie so far. Performances are great. We'll get to those in their respective categories. But man, just Oppenheimer, another one where it just didn't feel like 3 hours. I mean, you felt the length a little bit just because you're not sure where it's like what's the end point. You would assume going into it maybe that the atomic bomb test or and all that stuff, that's where we're heading to, and that happens in the second act. So you're like, okay, like what? Now what? But that's just me in my head thinking like, oh, okay, I thought this would be the end. It's not the end. So then I'm like, all right, how much time is left? Just not that I was bored. It was just curious. I'm like, this feels like too soon for what I thought was going to be the ending. But yeah, Oppenheimer is incredible, and yeah, just love that one so much. Next, in my ranking, another one that I don't think will win, but would love to see it win, is Poor Things. Already, as you know, I'm a big fan of Yorgos Lanthimos. I did an episode on Dogtooth. We'll plan on doing more episodes in the future on some of his other films, but Poor Things was incredibly well done. The set design, the concept, the writing, the performances were amazing. And like as with the other ones, I'll get to those later. But it was just so funny and so well done, and also like with it had something to say other than just being like funny and weird. But it was great. It was just such a good movie, and yeah, like I said, like I would be shocked if it won, but I wouldn't be upset. That basically of all the ones I've seen, this is the case. I'm like, yeah, I'd be okay with that. The next one on the list is The Holdovers. That one was incredible. I just recently watched it. It's streaming on Peacock. It is just so like heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. It's so beautiful. It's so funny. It's so I don't know. It's just perfect, and it's like it's great to have a new like Christmas film to talk about, to see, to watch every year, and because there just aren't a lot like the Holdovers. Like there, I mean, obviously there's no shortage of Christmas films. There's no shortage of Christmas films that are tear jerkers and stuff like that, but I just don't think a lot of them are this well done. I just loved every second of it. I was, you know, you either had a big smile on your face or tears going down your cheeks. So it was just, it was good all around. I just really like that one. That's, yeah, definitely check that one out if you haven't. Um, okay. So this one, what is one of my like favorite films of the year? It's like if I had a top 10 for this year, this is in there. And I definitely think it deserves to have a Best Picture nominee, and I don't think it will win. And I think there will obviously be people that are very upset about it because they're very upset about a lot of the wrong things. Barbie. Barbie was very good. I was excited about it from the get go just because everything, well, all two movies that Greta Gerwig has done before it were both incredible. Little Women and Lady Bird, amazing. Like great movies, deserved all the recognition that they got, and then some. Barbie was very well done. I love the fact that most of the effects were like practical and stuff. Like they didn't CG in the when they're like getting from Barbie Land to the real world. Like all of that was like actual old school sets, like with the moving background and stuff like that, and moving foreground. Crazy. Like there's did not have to do it like that, and it adds to everything that's going on in that movie. I loved what it had to say. Like yes, like I think a lot of the feminism stuff was a little like feminism light, um, where it's just like, hey, like it's your basic 101 level class basically on feminism. Like it's and that's fine, you know. It doesn't not everything has to be that deep, you know, and not everything has to be surface level, you know. You can have it both ways, and Barbie was fine the way it handled those subjects. That's fine. Obviously, if you look at me or hear me, I'm not like the end all be all of expert on feminism, but you know, just in my opinion, that's just the way it is. But we'll get more into the controversy part when we get to those categories, because obviously people think that Margot Robbie was snubbed and Greta Gerwig was snubbed. But you know, we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, I just thought I just really enjoyed that movie. It was really funny, and it made me cry. You know, just like the Holdovers. It was, you know, one or the other. You were crying or laughing, and I thought it was great. You know, and I really also just loved the fact that it, you know, neither movie, that and Oppenheimer, backed down and changed their release date. Both came out, and for the most part, I know me personally, but I know a lot of people saw both in the same day, and that's great. Like that was the first like real big, like we're back to the movies. Like that was the first big blockbuster event. Obviously, we had blockbuster movies, but nothing felt so pre-pandemic movie theater going until Barbenheimer, you know. So at the bottom of the list of the ones that I've seen is Maestro. That being said, it was a great movie. Now, do I think this will be the one of the ones I've seen? You know, I plan on seeing all of them, at least all of the Best Picture nominees. But for Maestro, it's the one that I'll be like, okay, like I'll be underwhelmed, like I was with Coda if that one wins. But it was still great. Like I think it deserves its spot. I guess. I'm not upset that it's nominated, but and not that it is at the level of Green Book, but it's gonna feel like when Green Book won if this wins. Um, not that it's like that's a very different conversation about why Green Book sucked, and shouldn't have won. That's a very touchy subject about these movies about race that win awards are very like I said about the feminism in Barbie. It's just it's very surface level. It's very like palatable for people that need to hear it, but it's not going deep enough for them to change everything. It's one of those things like where not like if you're not on the right side of history, it's not going to be changing your mind. It's just going to give you a little warm fuzzy. It's like, oh, see, I do like black people because I saw Green Book and I liked it. You didn't change anything about yourself. And I think that, but yeah, like I said, I don't know why I got on that tangent about Maestro because I don't think it's that type of movie. Maybe it is for some people, but it's just it's just very run of the mill Oscar movie. It's well done. It's good. I don't think it was as good as A Star Is Born, Bradley Cooper's other directorial film, but it was still good and I enjoyed it. And the emotional parts got me, and yeah, it was good. Yeah, that I'll add to that when we get to the other categories for it. But as for the other ones, I know Past Lives is going to be streaming on Paramount Plus very soon, like in a few days. So I'm very excited to check that out. As for the other ones, I'm going to kind of see if anything's announced on whether they'll be coming to streaming. And if not, then I'll just have to find them in the theater or rent them, whatever. But I will see them. But I'm excited for all of them because they all do look very good. Especially Past Lives. I feel like that's the one that I've heard the most good things about. Okay, moving on. We got Best Actor. We got Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction, and Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. So, as you know from the Best Picture part, I haven't seen American Fiction yet, so I won't be commenting on his performance. I do love Jeffrey Wright and everything I've seen of him. He even had like a little part in Rustin that he was good in. But as for the other ones, I would say my number one pick is Cillian Murphy. I thought he did amazing in Oppenheimer. I think it's his best role that he's done so far. I don't know, he just really killed it in that. Great at. I think he did a very good job of like driving home the point of the film, and which is that internal conflict of like, yes, we need to build this bomb because it's better that we have this bomb than Hitler having this bomb, but also what we're going to do with it isn't what we should be doing with it. And just that he's very good. Like, yeah, of course he does like bring up the stuff, but he's very good at showing on his face that internal struggle that he's going through. And you see it in all the different like visions that he gets and everything like that. And he's just incredible at that. Like incredible at all those scenes and him trying to hold it together and everything. He was just amazing in that. My second choice would be Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. I thought he did amazing in that. He like really brought brought home the emotion. You like made this character relatable, even if you're not just like a curmudgeonly old man. You still like felt for him, like, and how he was just this guy that got screwed over a bunch in his life, and then you can like see how he got to where he is and everything, and why he is the way he is, and it has a great character arc and everything, and he was just really good. I think that's the best. That's personally the best I've ever seen him. But yeah, really enjoyed his performance. Next, I would go Coleman Domingo as Rustin, or in Rustin. I mean, he does play the guy last name Rustin, but yeah, he was great. Like he's a guy that I first noticed in the Walking Dead spinoff, Fear the Walking Dead. Thought he was so good in that. Just like this enigmatic presence that you just can't help but like, you're like, I don't know whether to love him or hate him, but I can't help but love watching him, so he's very good at that, and I'm super stoked to hear that he's going to be playing Nat King Cole, whose music I love, like number one best Christmas album of all time is his Christmas album. But yeah, just really well done performance. You could tell that he can really just become whoever, and he does like a killer job at it. Then at the bottom of the ones I've seen, but still very good and very deserving of being there, is Bradley Cooper in Maestro. I thought he was great. He might have been. It's hard to say without being like super familiar with Leonard Bernstein, if he's overdoing it or if that's just how Leonard Bernstein was, and that's very possible. I think which would not surprise me whatsoever if anything in this movie is to be believed. Like, that's probably just how he was. Like, if that was his personality type, then yeah, he probably was just like a very overacty type of guy, because he's a composer, he's a theater person, like all this stuff. Like that's a very over the top personality. So I'm not gonna like dock points from Bradley Cooper for possibly just being very accurate to who he was playing. But it's just, I just think that it was more so with the other performances that I felt like, oh yeah, this is really good acting, versus just like, this is, it's really hard to put into words. He was good. I liked the performance. It's just I didn't like it as much as the other ones. Let's just leave it at that. So next category, we have Best Actress, Leading Actress. We have Annette Bening in Nyad, Carey Mulligan in Maestro, Emma Stone in Poor Things, Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, and Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall. I haven't seen that one yet, so I'll talk about the other four. My number one, without a doubt, Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon. Oh my God. She was the heart and soul of that movie. I don't know what people are talking about, thinking that she should have been in the Best Supporting Actress. And I think that's just a little hidden... That's your racism is showing, because they want Margot Robbie to be there for Barbie. And so let me just talk about that real quick before I get into Lily Gladstone's performance. Margot Robbie was good as Barbie. That being said, I don't think she was my favorite performance in there. I think America Ferrera deserves her nomination, and I think Ryan Gosling deserves his nomination. But I just, like, I don't know. it was just something about Barbie that I just didn't like. I don't know, like I just didn't feel like I was on her team. And not that I was on Ken's team, because I wasn't. Like, they were being ridiculous, you know? It's just like, I don't know. But maybe that's the point of it. You're not, it's like, she's supposed to be complicated because she's supposed to be like, I'm every woman, it's all in me. And like, and bearing the burden of that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just something about it. And I love Margot Robbie. Like, I think she is incredible in everything she is. And she was really good in this. I just think compared to the other ones that I've seen, yeah, maybe I'd put her. I don't know. No, not necessarily. Like, because like I said, I haven't seen Anatomy of a Fall yet. So I can't compare her. But of the ones I have listed, I have Annette Bening at the bottom, and I thought her performance as Diane Nyad was better than Margot Robbie's as Barbie. Now, haven't seen Past Lives yet. That's another name that gets put as a snub, is the lead actress in that. I think Greta Lee, but that could be the director. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. So I don't want to be like, hey, you just like I haven't seen it yet. So once I have, then I'll have that squared away, those names. But I just keep hearing Past Lives and Greta Lee, and I don't remember if that's the actress or the director, because both are being said that they got snubbed. Yeah, so it's just kind of funny that that people are this outraged over you know, I don't want to make it about this, but people are very outraged about a white woman who's previously been nominated. Yeah, someone who's been nominated 3 times already. Oh wait, no, two for acting, because she's executive producer on Barbie, so that counts as a nomination for her. But she's been nominated twice for acting. So, like, I don't understand getting that upset over losing a nomination in a year that there is a clear winner in my eyes, Lily Gladstone, who is the first Native American woman to be nominated for a lead acting role, maybe even just acting role. And she deserves it. You know, it's not like, doubters will be like, oh, they have to nominate whatever. This isn't the woke mob. This is a woman that put on the most amazing performance of the year, in all categories. I would say I'd put her above any of the supporting actors or actresses or the lead actors. This was the best acting performance I've seen this year, and she deserves it. So why are we getting so upset over this, white lady who's been nominated before and will get nominated again? I think her not getting nominated for Babylon was a bigger snub than her not getting nominated for Barbie. And I even saw, I don't remember if it was on TikTok or Instagram, but someone said, I wish I could, shout out who it was. I don't even remember. But someone said that her performance in, 3 minutes of Asteroid City was better than her whole performance in Barbie. And I would honestly say that I was more moved by her short little thing in Asteroid City than in Barbie. I was more moved by Barbie overall, the movie, but it wasn't her part. Even I'd say Rhea Perlman made me more emotional than Margot Robbie did in there. And that's not her. That's not I'm not saying that Margot Robbie's a bad actress or that the character was poorly written or at all. That's just I don't know. I feel like I'm being too harsh, but at the same time, I don't think I am. It's just, it is what it is. And yeah, it would have been cool to see her nominated, but it just to me, it doesn't matter when we have this other historic for multiple reasons nomination and possible win. And it's we're just getting upset about her. It's like getting upset that like, oh no, like Meryl Streep didn't get her 50th nomination this year for whatever shit movie she happened to be in, because that was the trend for a while. Didn't matter what the fuck Meryl Streep was in, she would get nominated. And it's like, oh my god, like come on, like she's great, but we're nominating her for this, So, anyways, Lily Gladstone, she was just so good, and like I said, the heart of the movie, and not that everyone else wasn't good too, because she was. She was the best of them, and the best part of it, and yeah, just an incredible performance. So powerful, and yeah. Moving on from there, now, this is where it gets hard with the Oscars, because my next favorite one is Emma Stone, who I think put on her best performance in Poor Things. Like, this is the only other thing that like she might have been better in is The Favorite, the other Yorgos Lanthimos film, but she was just so good in this one, like so good. Yeah, just like she. But that's also just the problem with these award shows is like, take Leonardo DiCaprio. Well, I think him, even though he's already won, I think his performance in Killers of the Flower Moon was better than Margot Robbie's in Barbie. So his was a bigger snub in my opinion, even though I'm fine with him not getting a nomination because he's already got the award. But the point of bringing him up is that he won for The Revenant, which he was amazing in. But we all know that he's done better performances than that. He was better in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He was supporting, but I think his best one was in Django Unchained. He was just like an incredible villain. But at the same time, Christoph Waltz was there. He's the one that got nominated and the win. And I'm fine with that because he was amazing. So it's just, you can have like, I don't know. It's just frustrating. But Emma Stone in Poor Things, my favorite performance of hers so far. She was really good in that. And I think better than she was in. I think she won for La La Land, and she was great in that. But I think this is more. It just sucks when you have a year like this that like they're all good. So, but yeah, next I would have Carey Mulligan in Maestro. I think she was the better performance in that one. Like, if I had to pick between her and Bradley Cooper, Carey Mulligan was the one I was, like, the most, not, like, attracted to, like, physically attracted, but, like, that's who I wanted to watch. Like, I was more interested in her journey and her inner fight and everything that she had to, like, deal with. And I mean, not that she had to deal with it, but that's just like that internal struggle that we go through is like, am I happy with this life? And, she was just incredible in that. And then, last but not least of the ones I've seen, Annette Bening in Naiad. I thought she was amazing in this. And yeah, I think she deserves to be there. She did an incredible job. And she played like a character, like well, not a character because it was a real life person, but she had a performance that it's like you root for her, but you get frustrated with her, and you see that the other characters are frustrated and like all this stuff, but you also see why they would keep like coming back to her and helping her and everything. And yeah, I think she did like an amazing job, and then it was cool to see, the real footage of her, and you can compare like how accurate she was, and I think it was like, oh yeah, she did a good job, So yeah, moving on. Next we have Best Actor in a Supporting Role. Now this one, like the previous ones, I've seen all but one. Uh, but we have Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things, Robert De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling in Barbie, and Sterling K. Brown in American Fiction, which is the one I haven't seen yet. So, as for what I have seen, my number one is Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things. I thought he surprised me with his performance. And it's just one of those performances I was like, I didn't know Mark Ruffalo had that in him, and he was just so good and so funny and so over the top, but like in a good way. Like, and which sounds contradictory to my thoughts on Bradley Cooper. I was like, oh, he seemed like a little over the top. This was like, I don't know, the vibe of this movie compared to Maestro calls for over the top. You want over the top. And he's just like hamming it up and like super, he's so quirky. It's just really funny. So I loved his performance, but also like I'm going to be honest with you, of all the four that I've seen, I'm happy no matter who wins. Like, I'm happy with, it's honestly a four-way tie, and Mark Ruffalo's just the one I give like a little edge to because he was the most surprising to me. But Robert De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon, amazing. Like, one of his better performances, I think. I didn't know going in like the true story and like who was gonna be like good guys and bad guys, because I tried to like only watch the trailer like once or twice and not really like, I just knew like, okay, I'm gonna go to this movie and I'm gonna love it, and I was right. And but yeah, his performance was so good and just so menacing, but also you get why people like him and like get why people would trust him and everything like that. And oh man, he was good. And then Ryan Gosling and Barbie, he was just so funny in that. Like, honestly, like he's been like an underrated comedic actor for a while. And I've known since Crazy Stupid Love. I think I talked about this in a previous episode. But yeah, he was great in Crazy Stupid Love and Nice Guys. He was hilarious in that. Yeah, he was really funny, and I think like his performance in that was like what made me want to, like, honestly, it was what made me want to watch the movie. I was like, okay, like that, like his lines in the trailers, his jokes and everything, like all right, yeah, he's killing it. This looks so funny, and he was a big part of that. I'm not saying no one else was funny in there or no one else did a good performance. I'm just saying that's what personally drew me to wanting to watch it, and like, and I don't think I'm alone there, and I don't think that makes me anti-woman because I preferred Ryan Gosling's performance as Ken. I just thought he was like more of the heart of the movie, or the draw at least. But anyways, it was great. He was funny. And then Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer was also amazing. He, like, much like Robert De Niro's performance, where you don't really know from the trailer that this is like the bad guy or whatever. And I don't think that's much of a spoiler. I mean, just read history, I guess. But he just pulled off a great like performance, and it was cool that all his stuff was in black and white, and like I just thought he was like really good in it. And yeah, I'd say he deserves to be up there, and if he wins like any of these other four, then I'm fine with that. And then once I see American Fiction, I'm sure it's going to be just a 5-way tie for me, because Sterling K. Brown is really good too. I think the first thing I saw him in was the American Crime Story, the OJ one, the miniseries that was on FX. Yeah, and he was great in that. All right, moving on. Best Supporting Actress. Okay, so much like the other one, it's I wouldn't say it's quite a four-way tie for the ones I've seen, but all right. Well, let me just list them off first. We got America Ferrera and Barbie, uh, Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, which is the one I haven't seen yet, Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer, and Jodie Foster in Nyad. So I, all right. So honestly, I have like my top two. I would say are tied, which would be Emily Blunt and Divine Joy Randolph, because both of those performances were really good, like incredible. I think part of me is like I really want Emily Blunt to win. You know, I don't think she's. So I personally give Emily Blunt a little more edge because I just remember. So I went in, because Oppenheimer came out in the summer. Holdovers came out a little later, and the nominations were out by the time I watched it. So I had that in my head of like, oh, I need to look at her performance and see like, how good she is. But with Emily Blunt, I was just watching a movie that I knew was going to be good, or I figured would be good. And her performance did stand out. I'd say a little more than Cillian Murphy's did, and he was great. And so I just remember thinking when I left Oppenheimer that she was the standout performance of that film. And Florence Pugh was really good too, but she was just in it a lot less. But yeah, Emily Blunt was just so good in that, and I thought she was like just had a really strong performance, and would just love to see her win this. But like I said, I'm fine if she doesn't, and if it goes to, if it goes to any of them, they deserve it. But I think the other very strong one was Divine Joy Randolph, and I think she was the standout performance even over Paul Giamatti for that film. Like, she was just so good, and it makes sense like with her character's background on why she would have such a powerful performance. But you can also have that backstory and not pull it off, and she pulled it off because she just brought everything to it, and then you could see the struggle that she's going through, and she makes it very believable. And so yeah, it's pretty much tied for those two. But my next choice would be America Ferrera and Barbie, and I think I've heard people like upset about that, like that she was even nominated, and I don't get that because I think she had the more poignant point to make. It wasn't like, I think she just had like the bigger, like the more important role. Like, she's the one that makes the big speech saying like what it's like to be a woman, and it's like the turning point in the film, and she's amazing at it. She's amazing at being just like a mom to a teenage girl that's that they're butting heads and stuff like that. Like, she's just pulling all of it off, and like, yeah, she was great. Like, there's no reason for her to not be there. Maybe there are other people that might have deserved it more, but who cares? Usually the examples that people give are other people that have already been nominated. So why not let her be there for the nomination? And because I don't think she'll win, but I do think it will be one of my two favorites. But who knows? Maybe it will go to Jodie Foster. I think she did well in that role. I think I guess she has like the more, like, her character's dealing with more internal conflict than Annette Bening's character, because Annette Bening's character is just very driven. Like, it's just like, it's going to happen and I'm going to do it. And Jodie Foster's trying to be more realistic but also being supportive. So it's not that there's more to her character, but I don't know. I think it's just, yeah, it's just, I think I just enjoyed Annette Bening's character more. Like, I don't know. But, and then, she's already won before, so she doesn't need it. All right. So, Best Director, we have Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest, Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, and Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things. So, I've only seen 3 of these. I already talked about how Oppenheimer was my favorite Christopher Nolan film. And I think it was. It's very hard to pick between that and Killers of the Flower Moon. I would say like I said, that's my pick for Best Picture. But I would say that if I wanted to give both of them the prize, because I know that's sometimes how the voting works, is like, oh, we don't really want to give Best Picture to this one, so we'll give them Best Director. So I think Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, a little better directed in my opinion, but I think I'm just more impressed with, like, the directing stood out. The overall picture of Killers of the Flower Moon was more impressive, I think, but maybe it was just the stronger performances made me like that movie more. But the directing really shines through in Oppenheimer. But that being said, my second choice would be Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese. And, and I'm not upset at all if that happens. And same with Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things. Not upset at all. Like, it's a very well-directed film. It's, he brings something very special that a lot of people can't pull off. Like I said, like, it's, Mark Ruffalo did the performance, but it takes a director like Yorgos Lanthimos to bring that out of someone like Mark Ruffalo. We already knew that Emma Stone could do that from The Favorite, but when you saw her in The Favorite, you're like, that's very different than what we know Emma Stone to be like. So he's a very impressive director, I would say. So wouldn't be upset if he won. But I'll have more to say once I see the other 2 films. So for Best Original Screenplay, we have Anatomy of a Fall, Maestro, May December, Past Lives, and The Holdovers. Seen 3 of these. I would say my favorite script, like, if we're just going off the writing, then The Holdovers is just so well written, and I'm happy to see it there. This is Best Original Screenplay. It's, just it did feel very original. I mean, every movie has some tropes, but I can't think of any, like, right off the bat that were in this, and it was just very well done, and very well written. It had the humor, it had all the emotions. So yeah, that'd be my number 1 pick, but it's a very close second, and maybe I would just want to give it to this one just so, because it's the only nomination that it has, and it deserved a lot more, I think, and that's May December. Oh my gosh. Like, and that, I just finished watching it before recording, like an hour before, and man, that movie was incredible. It was so well done. It's by Todd Haynes, same guy that did Carol, which was also really good. And oh man, it was so good. Like, it was so like very dark humor that you might not even, like, register as humor, and it was just really good. Like, then the performances, I'm surprised that Julianne Moore, Natalie Portman, or Chris Melton didn't get nominated for any acting awards for this one. But hey, the original screenplay, it deserves to be there. It was a very well written movie. So good. And then just by default, being the other one that I've seen, Maestro, in the trailing behind, but still good. It's well written for sure. I'm always interested in what makes a biopic adapted versus original. Is it just because there's no like written biography of Leonard Bernstein that they based it off of? You know, because part of me is like, oh, if it's based on a true story, then it's adapted. But, you know, I don't know. I think it maybe there has to be an actual written document that they are basing it off of, or another movie or franchise, whatever, that has to be based off of. But yeah, it's well written, so it's not like they don't deserve to be there. It's just, you know, wasn't my favorite of the three. Moving on to adapted screenplay, we got American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. This is another one where it's basically a three-way tie. All of them were very well written and very clever. So, but, you know, if I had to pick one, you know, then I'd say Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Barbie would be my ranking of the adapted screenplay. But yeah, all of them are very well written. I don't have anything that I could point to that puts one like way above the other or anything like that. But yeah, like screenplay wise, I think they're all deserving to be there. For best cinematography, so our nominees for that are El Conde, which is The Count, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I'd say my favorite cinematography wise would be El Conde, because that was shot very beautifully. That was like the most like visually pleasing of all five, because this is my first complete category. Yeah, I'd say like visually that was the best one of them, but it's, you know, it's not that far ahead of my second, which would be Oppenheimer. But it's something about the black and white, and, you know, like one person said on Letterboxd, so it's like it's all style with less substance. You know, I'm not as harsh on it. I thought it was really good, but, you know, it's, you know, visually it's just so stunning. It's so well done. It's so fun to look at. Yeah, I it was a great one. It was funny. It was dark, and just like the ending wasn't my favorite, but, you know, it could have been a lot worse too. So, moving on after that, we got Oppenheimer. Yeah, amazing cinematography, which is not surprising because all of Christopher Nolan's films are like that. And the same with Killers of the Flower Moon, which would be my third. Amazingly shot, beautiful, great to look at. You know, it's one. All of these are ones that, like, at least 80% of the frames would like make a great like wall art. You know, so good. Then I would say Poor Things, also very well shot. A lot of great photography on that. And then Maestro, that was also like really good. I think that's one of its stronger elements is the cinematography. It's a half black and white, half color, much like Oppenheimer. And yeah, it's just very, very stunning, you know, very well shot. So honestly, with that category, any of them can take it, and they deserve it. So, and that's coming from someone who's very like cinematography is like one of my favorite things about a movie. You know, I'm not saying that I would be a good cinematographer at all. I'm just saying that like that's one of the things I pick out, and one of the things I enjoy the most about film is the cinematography. So, yeah, they killed it this year, you know. Next we have Best Achievement in Film Editing. Anatomy of a Fall, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Holdovers. Um, my number one would be Oppenheimer. I think it was edited together very well. Um, like the intercutting shots of, science happening. I don't know what you would call it, where it's just like elements reacting or like sparks and stuff like that. Like it it's cut together very well, and the blending of the black and white going back in color and everything, and one's the past, one's like closer to the present, very well edited, no doubt about that. Next I would say Poor Things was my favorite editing wise. Couldn't really tell you why, but I just felt like that the editing on that one was a little better. And then Killers of the Flower Moon, also very well edited. You can't have a 3.5 hour movie that is poorly edited. Then it's not gonna hold your attention. And then I just put the Holdovers at the bottom. Not that it was poorly edited by any means, but it's just, if I had to rank them, that's how I'd rank them. So next we have production design. Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Haven't seen Napoleon yet, but it's a period piece by Ridley Scott. So at least the production design deserves to be there, and everything else is debatable, but I haven't seen it yet, so I can't judge it. But I would say Barbie for production design, like building all those pink sets and everything, making them look like the toys and the play sets and everything. Uh, like I mentioned before, with the practical, fake background going while they're in the car and everything. Like, that's impressive to do all those things in a world of relying on CG and a giant dome. So I think production design wise, then yeah, Barbie deserves the win in my opinion. Next, I would say Poor Things, because it's also very impressive set design. Um, just if I had to pick one or the other, I'd pick Barbie. But Poor Things was really well done production wise. It has crazy architecture, very visually appealing. It's like steampunk without being annoying, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, uh, but I loved the look of everything in that. So wouldn't be upset about that winning. And same with any of these, to be honest, except for Napoleon, because I don't know yet. Um, Killers of the Flower Moon, I would put next. I think having a period piece, I think the further back you go, then the more impressive it is to have those sets. There's a lot of places that still look the same from Oppenheimer days. You know what I mean? It's not like you had to search that far for buildings from the 30s and 40s, because there's still plenty of them. Uh, it's a little, I mean, not that they don't exist, but it's a little more impressive for that turn of the century style out in the middle of nowhere and everything like that. And that's why I would put Killers of the Flower Moon first, and then you also have to have like the um, like legitimate, accurate native dwellings of the Osage tribe. So it, you know, just felt like a little more work went into the production design side if I was comparing that between Oppenheimer, and which puts Oppenheimer at the bottom, but not really, because it's very well made production design. So the sets are great. Everything looks accurate. Well, okay, so maybe they do get dinged on production design because they had the wrong American flags in that one scene. I don't think that's that big of a deal, but for whichever like boomer had an aneurysm about it, or history nerd, sorry. That puts it at the bottom. Whatever. I hope you're happy. So kind of going hand in hand with production design would be costume design. It's all the same nominees: Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. But for this one, I would say Poor Things would be my favorite. I think it had the more interesting costume design, because it's like period specific costumes, but with their own spin on them. And I just thought it was more fun to look at. But I mean, also Barbie's very impressive too, because they're basing those costumes. You see them posted online. Like all of those costumes were based off of like actual Barbie figures that were for sale. So that it's like you got to go back through the archives and stuff, but you also have something to base it off of. Whereas Poor Things is kind of just doing its own thing, you know. But like I said, like with the period specific costumes, when you have just dudes in suits in the 20s, or not 20s, in the 30s and 40s, versus the further back you go, and you add the element of having like accurate native tribal dress and everything like that, then that's more impressive. And as long as like I haven't heard contrary to this, like I feel like I've heard that it's like very accurate, and it had like there was a lot of Osage tribe members that were consultant on there. So, and plus you have the photographs and everything too, but those don't have the color. So that's why I would put that one a little ahead. And then I'd put Oppenheimer in the bottom, but that's still work that you got to do, but same rules apply as before. It's just easier to make something more recent than older. But that's why I put Poor Things on the top, because they're kind of inventing it to an extent. So next we have Best Sound. For that we have Maestro, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, The Creator, and The Zone of Interest. Now, I've seen 3 of these. I would say Oppenheimer had the best sound. I think just anytime they have like they make a choice to cut out all the sound, and you get to experience that in the theater and no one ruins it. So when that bomb went off and there's that silence for a while, it's funny that I'm using the absence of sound to explain why it has the best sound, but it still has like the best sound, like other than that, but it's still very impressive to pull that off and like blend it the right way and edit it to where it's not too long, but it's not too short either. So that would be my pick for best sound. And then just all the other sound effects, like I said, when like the sparks and stuff are like cut between it. Yeah, just love the sound design on that one. Next I would go Maestro. Another strong category for that film. Yeah, just very well done mixing between the the concerts and stuff like that, putting in I don't know if it counts, but putting in his own music in there. That's more score, but it's not original score because it's already been done. But yeah, I just thought it was well done, and then I'd put Mission Impossible at the bottom, just because I just think that the sound stood out more in the other two. And I haven't seen The Creator yet. And then you already know I haven't seen Zone of Interest. But with Mission Impossible, I was really impressed with that one. I had never seen any of the Mission Impossible films. And last year, Top Gun Maverick impressed me so much that I'm like, all right, I'll give these Mission Impossible movies a try. They were all on Paramount Plus, so I just went from the beginning all the way to Dead Reckoning, and this was the strong one in my opinion. I thought it was incredible. And not that the other ones weren't good. I just think that the first two weren't so strong, and they definitely like picked up in quality after from three and on. But yeah, it is a great movie, and the sound design is done very well. So it deserves to be there. Next is best achievement in makeup and hairstyling. So I would say I'd put. Oh yeah, let me list off all of them first. Golda, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of the Snow, which is the one I haven't seen. But it's on Netflix, so I'll get to it soon. I've seen everything. I've seen all but two that are streaming available. So it's just that and The Creator that I haven't seen. So, but I'll probably watch those later tonight. But yeah, I would say number one for me would be Poor Things, because they're just he's just doing his own thing. And he's just coming up with these like looks that are unique and interesting and like fun to look at, and like the look like Willem Dafoe's facial prosthetics and everything look really cool. Yeah, I just liked everything about it, and that was one of the stronger areas on that. Not that it had any weak areas, but yeah, I'd give it to Poor Things. Next, I would go Maestro, because I think they did a really good job of making Bradley Cooper look like Leonard Bernstein, which I know was a bit of a controversy for some people. I don't know how many actual Jewish people were upset with it, or if it's just, people that like to get outraged about anything. To me, what really matters, I'm not saying that there weren't any like Jewish people upset about it, but I think what matters most is that his family approved it. The people that actually knew him, and they're like, yeah, like he had a bigger nose, and they made him look like him. And he looks like him a lot. And when you see the side by side, it's like, yeah, they did a good job. That looks like Leonard Bernstein. So, but yeah, and then like everyone else's like hair and makeup and everything looked good too. So yeah, I think they did a good job on that one. I'd go Oppenheimer next, and the only reason I'd put Golda on the bottom is just I just didn't like that movie that much. I just found it kind of boring, not like trying to take some like major stance and like not liking it, because that seemed to be the trend on Letterboxd. I just like world politics and everything aside, just looking at the movie itself, it just wasn't very good, in my opinion. But hey, and then, like I said, I haven't seen Society of Snow yet. Okay, so next we have Best Original Score. There's American Fiction, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. To me, the music, honestly, all four of these had great scores. The ones that I've seen, like I haven't seen American Fiction yet, but of the four that I saw, amazing scores, like actually that stood out, and I think that's important. And think the one that I can like hear the music in my head the two that I can like kind of hear the music would be Poor Things and Indiana Jones. Now I gotta say that Indiana Jones is because what am I hearing? Am I hearing the new stuff or his references to older Indiana Jones music pieces? You know what I mean? No, which I'm totally fine with. Those work. Like If you're watching Indiana Jones and, he's having a memory or he's thinking about Marion and Marion's theme plays, and it's like, okay, that works. Like that gets an emotional response from the audience, and that's what you want from a score. But like I said, like, is anything new for this one sticking out? And yes, there is, but not as much as Poor Things. I think I was really struck by the music in that one, by Jerskin Frendrix, or Fendrix, not Frendrix. Um, Staring at the ring lights, like making my eyes all weird. Uh, but it would also be great to have John Williams win, you know, at least one more time. He says he's not retired anymore, but he's also in his 90s. So I think he just broke uh, two records with this nomination. I think he's now the most nominated person that's still alive and the oldest nominated person ever. Uh, so yeah, and I think he did a really good job with this. It was one of the better scores. Like, not, I don't think anything really stuck out in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull the way that the first three movies did, but this one I think was a little closer of a return to form for all aspects of it. You know, which is ironic because two of the major people weren't involved at all. No George Lucas or Steven Spielberg. No, I think Steven Spielberg still produced, but not he wasn't directing. So, um, but yeah, the score was great, and not that this is nominated for anything else, but I think it was. And I'd say that Oppenheimer, that one sticks out, the score in that, and so does Killers of the Flower Moon. So honestly, give it to any of them, and they all deserve it. So next we have Best Original Song, and these I've all seen. Got American Symphony. The song being It Never Went Away by John Batiste and Dan Wilson. Then you have Barbie, the song What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish and Phineas O'Connell. You got another one from Barbie. You got I'm Just Ken by Mark Ronson and Andrew Wyatt. From Flamin' Hot, you have The Fire Inside by Diane Warren. And from Killers of the Flower Moon, you have Washatsi. I don't know. I should have looked up the pronunciation of that, but the parentheses, A Song for My People by Scott George. I would say my number one. No, honestly, what I think should have at least been nominated, I think this was a bigger snub than anything from Barbie, is I think that Peaches from the Mario movie, or Super Mario Brothers movie, should have been nominated. It was so fun. I think more fun than I'm Just Ken. I think I'm Just Ken is a fun song and was really funny, and I liked that sequence, but I think the context and the visuals add to that one. Not that they don't for for Peaches, but it's just Jack Black doing his thing, and I thought it was like really funny when I saw it in the theater, and I was just like, oh yeah, duh, of course Jack Black is gonna give us a little Tenacious D in this movie, because why wouldn't he? And but yeah, I think it should have been nominated for best song. I liked it better than most of these on here, but I'd say my actual favorite, like what's the best song and what gave me an emotional reaction while watching the movie, I would say What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish for Barbie. I think it was used perfectly in the film. I think it's just a good song on its own that I would listen to, and I already did listen to before the movie came out because she put it out beforehand, and I was like, oh, that's a good song, and yeah, I just think that's the better one. I liked the sequence that it was in. It just added to the emotion, I think, and it deserves to be there, and I think it deserves the win. The second one I would put is the Washasi from Killers of the Flower Moon, because when that song came on at the end, it was like it was also used very like for like peak emotional reaction, I think. And it was just so beautiful, like that sequence. And I don't know, it I think those are the two strongest like emotional reactions. Well, and then also I'm just Ken, but it's just a different emotional reaction, of like humor. I'd say those three stick out the most of all the five, but just in that order, because and the reason I give the edge to What Was I Made For is that that's the one I would just listen to, whether it was in a movie or not. And then I'm Just Ken, like I said, I think it is aided more by seeing it in the film, and it's more fun when you're watching it in the film. Not to say it's not a fun song, because it is. Uh, but yeah, I just remember like cracking up, like, oh my god, he's gonna start singing this like emotional ballad, and it was just really funny, really well done. Um, but yeah, I'm fine with it being there, and everyone can be whatever about it. And I would say It Never Went Away by John Batiste and the American Symphony. I thought the documentary was good. I think that I'm surprised it wasn't up for best documentary, to be honest, or best documentary feature, because I thought it was really good. It was really powerful. Just like the song didn't stick out as much to me, but like I was like, oh wait, which one was that? And then, because honestly, when I was watching it, I'm like, okay, this is not, like, in my head, I was thinking this is nominated for best documentary. So I wasn't really thinking about the individual songs. So I had to go back and be like, oh, which song was that? Oh, okay, that one was good. And, um, but yeah, like I said, it just didn't stick out the way that these other ones did. And then on the bottom, not that it's a bad song, but the from Flamin' Hot, Diane Warren's "The Fire Inside." It was a good song. It's just a good credit song. That's I don't have much more to add on that. That movie was better than I was expecting, but. So next we have best achievement in visual effects. I have only seen two of these, but the full list is Godzilla minus one, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Napoleon, and The Creator. So I would say of the two that I've seen, which are Guardians and Mission Impossible, that I would give the edge to Guardians. And the reason I'd say that is because, like, while I prefer the method that Mission Impossible takes, which is minimal visual effects, like they are minimal computer visual effects. Um, like you have like Tom Cruise doing these real stunts and shit, and that's really impressive. But I would say that Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the better examples of good CGI. I think it's done a little better than most of the other Marvel movies. It's not entirely on a screensaver like Ant-Man and Quantumania was. But yeah, I just think Guardians does a better job with their visual effects compared to the other Marvel films. So I think it deserves, like, hey, like, you've done this thing that is, this, you use this method that can make everything look terrible, but you do a good job at it, so it's very impressive. So I think that's a little more impressive. It's not best stunts, which I do think should be a category, is stunts. And if you're doing that, then yeah, give it to Mission Impossible, because we all saw that in that trailer where Tom Cruise like actually drove the motorcycle and jumped off and did the squirrel suit and all that, and that was crazy. But it wasn't really a visual effect other than they they CG'd out the ramp and made it just look like only rocks. So, and that they did a good job at that, but that's less work than was put into Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, what do I think will be my favorite once I see it is Godzilla minus one. I hear nothing but good things. I just need to find a theater near me that's showing it. So, all right, moving on. All right, so next we have Best Documentary Feature, 20 Days in Mariupol. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation, so sorry if it's not. Bobby Wine, The People's President, Four Daughters, The Eternal Memory, and To Kill a Tiger. So I've seen two of these, and which both I would say I think I gave both of them 4 stars on Letterboxd. They were about the same level of quality and everything, just on very different subjects and different like tones and everything, but both like very sad and informative, but they're dealing with different aspects. You got Bobby Wine, the people's president. He's trying to revolutionize the government in Uganda, and it's like really showcasing the corruption and all that stuff, and it's very sad in that way, because you actually see some, depictions of the violence that's going on against the people and everything. So, yeah, and it's very well done. And, very interesting, especially like for 2 hours, so, and it didn't feel like it was 2 hours long. Next is the other one that I saw is The Eternal Memory, which was also very sad and very moving, but very different subject matter. It's about this couple that's been together for 25 years. He has Alzheimer's, and it's just about, you kind of see it get worse as the movie goes on, and it just, that decline is very sad. It's also intercut with home movies of them together and their journey as a couple. They're both in Chile, and he used to be a journalist, like on the news and everything, and she's an actress, and she still does plays and stuff, and you see her in a couple of them. But yeah, it's very moving. It's beautiful to see their relationship, and it feels like it's very strong, and you just see how, like, you really see how much she loves him, and also how hard it is to see him the way he is, and especially as he gets worse as it goes on. I'd honestly like give it to either of those. Like, they were both amazing, and like I think there was just more to the Bobby Wine one, just because it's more active, whereas Eternal Memory is a little more passive, if that makes sense. But they're both really good, and yeah, either way, I'm good, and just got to try to find these other three. Moving on, we have Best Animated Feature. For this, we have Elemental, Nimona, Robert Robot Dreams, not Robert Dreams, Robot Dreams, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and The Boy and the Heron. Okay, so I've only seen 3 of these. I've seen Elemental, Nimona, and Across the Spider-Verse. I can't wait to see Boy and the Heron. That's Hayao Miyazaki. Just never let me down before. Just need to find a place that's playing it, or hopefully it comes to streaming, or at least renting, or available for rent before the Oscars happen. But yeah, can't wait to see that one. But so for the ones I have seen, I would say the strongest one, honestly, so once again, my favorite animated movie this year was the Super Mario Brothers movie. I thought it was so good. It was fan service, but who the fuck cares? Like, I'm a fan, so I want to see the things I like. So show me the things I like, and they did that, and it was so good. And I loved it so much. I thought it was hilarious. Thought it was funny. Thought it was like, you know, it did everything I wanted out of a Mario movie. Much like very different from the '90s Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo one. Not everything you want out of a Mario movie, especially when you're 4 when it comes out. um, but yeah, I think that should be on here, and that would be my number one. But I think it just came out too early in the year. Maybe people didn't like it, but I think that is part of it because I feel like it was not that Rotten Tomatoes is the end all be all, and I do hate its existence, but it had a really low critic score but a high audience score if I remember right. So, but of these choices, I would say my favorite was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Was I happy that it ended on like a major cliffhanger and that I was pissed off about that at the time, and then all the writers and actor strikes happened, which pushed everything, which they should have happened. Like they were right to do that and everything. I'm mad at the studios, not the writers and the actors. But yes, and now it's just going to take even longer for all that to happen or all that to get resolved for in the third one. But it was, if you're going on animation, that was the best looking one of the three that I've seen. So beautiful, so amazing, and just like good story, good action, good performances, everything. Like they killed it like all the way through. And yeah, even better than the first one, which did win best animated feature. So next I would go with Elemental. That one I was hesitant about. Like I hadn't been. It feels in my head like Pixar had this really long run of flops, but really it was just Lightyear that I didn't like. And so I don't know why in my head I'm like, oh, like Pixar needs a win. But I think it is because Lightyear was the first one to go to theaters, and it's like this is the one that you put in the theater, not Turning Red, not Soul, not Luca, not what was no, Onward did come out in the theater. Maybe I'm just thinking of those three, but I feel like there was another one that came out that straight to Disney Plus that was really good, but I'm blanking on it. But it doesn't matter. Elemental was really good. I thought it was enjoyable. It was one of those like kind of return to what if blank had cognizance and feelings, and so it was like the elements mixing, and there's very strong immigrant and race relation allegories in there that I thought were very well done. And yeah, I thought it was really beautiful. It was sad, it was happy in all the right spots, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the better. Well, there I go again. It was good. It was better than Lightyear. Yeah, because I think it's like I'm putting a lot on Pixar for having a bunch of flops in a row, but it was more the main studio that was cranking out the less good ones. But then they space them out enough to where you had Encanto in the middle, or Encanto, and that one was incredible. But then you have Strange World, which was written by the manatees from South Park, just putting that's who writes the Family Guy jokes in that South Park episode. It kind of felt like that. Like I'm not one of those people that was upset that there was LGBTQ representation. That's fine. That doesn't bother me. And same with Lightyear. That it's just is such a non-issue of what was like wrong with the movie. That's like not even an issue. What was wrong with the movie is that it just was not paced well, not written well, and I don't even know why I'm talking about it. That's a last year movie, but all I'm saying is that Elemental was a breath of fresh air on a not so impressive Disney lineup for the last couple years. A lot more misses than hits. So it was nice to have a hit finally. Um, and then I would say Nimona was not as good, but still very good. You know, it's a I think my complaints with that one would be a lot of like the very overdone humor, like the awkward, stuff like that. And it's just like, okay, like that's was outdated like a decade ago and we're still doing it. So come on, like let's be a little more original. But I think the story was very touching. Animation style was interesting, not my favorite, but it wasn't bad either. Uh, but yeah, it was good, you know. But I'm probably won't be jumping at the bit to rewatch it the way I would Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse or maybe even Elemental. But even that one is like I said. All right, moving on, and then so excited to see Boy and the Heron, but Robot Dreams, never even heard of that one until it got nominated. So, and don't know where to find it. So we'll see. That I feel like that's going to be a hard one to find. Haven't seen any of these, but I'll list them off. Best animated short film, we have Letter to a Pig, 95 Senses, Our Uniform, Pachyderm, or I guess just Pachyderm. This is the way it's spelled, makes me want to pronounce it that way. And then War is Over, exclamation point, inspired by the music of John and Yoko. Yeah, haven't seen any of those, so can't really comment on them. Live action short film, Invincible, Red, White, and Blue. I think this is Good Fortune, and it only has like the untranslated version. Something happened on here. It wasn't like that before. But The After and The Wonderful World of Henry Sugar. My favorite of those was The Wonderful World of Henry Sugar, but I've only seen one other one, which was The After, which was very, very good. But it was just so heavy that, like, it's one of those, like, oh, I saw it and I don't really ever want to watch it again. It was just very heavy, but it was so well done, though. And, like, honestly, like, David Oyelowo's performance was so good. And, it's like, man, I wish he could get an Oscar nom for the short, but, he was so good. And that it was so, like, heartbreaking and touching at the end. It's the journey that this character goes on. And but yeah, it was good. But I just loved The Wonderful World of Henry Sugar so much. I've already, like, rewatched it. I just love, I mean, I love Wes Anderson. I would love to see him win an Oscar for this finally. I know, like, his movies have won them, but he hasn't won an Oscar. And it was just so, like it's just such a fun environment to be in. Like, you just want to, like, I don't know. And it was just like, it was so interesting, like the style of it, and something like very different than anything else he's done before, but still, like, feels like him. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's the one I hope wins. But The After was really good and wouldn't be upset if it does win. Next, we have a documentary short film. We have Island in Between, Nai or Nene, and Wei Po. ABCs of Book Banning, The Barber of Little Rock, and The Last Repair Shop. So I've seen 2 of these. Seen The Last Repair Shop and the ABCs of Book Banning, and that's the one I would pick as my favorite of the 2. Uh, Super interesting. It's crazy to me to like see these like sections at Barnes and Noble of like banned books, because they're banned at like school districts and stuff like that, and then they tell you the difference between a book that's banned, restricted, or man, what was the third option? Contested, maybe? I don't know. But, or, yeah, just like ones that have been like petitioned against, or like people have like brought up a complaint about it, but it didn't go further than that. And then restricted, they're at the library, but you have to have parental consent to check it out. And then banned, just, that school district or that school kept it out of their library. But it was always crazy to me to see like which books were on these lists and stuff like that. And it's, and it was just very powerful to see this documentary that had, it's bookended with this 100-year-old woman who goes to the town hall meeting to like give her piece about whether or not books should be banned, and she's like very against them being banned. She says, my husband died in World War II for the to fight for the freedom to uphold the Constitution, freedom of speech, and all that stuff, all these things that you guys are trying to censor. And you're doing exactly what Adolf Hitler did. Like that's what he was doing. He was burning books, banning books, like all this stuff. And it's like, it's just bringing up the hypocrisy of this. It's like you're just doing what he did. And but it's not just, you're not just hearing from her, you're also hearing from the children that are the ones that actually get affected by this. And it was really powerful to see these kids that are like the age appropriate for whatever book they're being like restricted from. And they just put it in such like simple terms of like, hey, like, this isn't that big of a deal. So why, I don't understand why, they are keeping this from us. But yeah, it was really well done. Last Repair Shop was good. I think it like definitely builds because you're hearing multiple stories from multiple employees, and I think the more powerful stories are towards the end. But that one was really good. Haven't seen any of the best international feature films, but we have Il Capitano, Perfect Days, Society of the Snow, The Teacher's Lounge, and The Zone of Interest. But so yeah, that's those are the nominees. I may or may not post an update closer to the awards show. I don't want to promise anything one way or the other, but I plan on trying to see as many more of these as I can. If not all of them, then at least the Best Picture nominees. So even if I got to pay $20 to watch it on Apple TV, I don't want to, but I will. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I know I got a little rambly, but hey, that's what happens. And thank you guys for watching, listening, and see you next week. Thanks. Bye.